Our forces are capturing Command Post Auric.
The first Pokemon Sword and Shield DLCs are just around the corner, and after seeing the trailers, I'm actually really excited for them. But I can't help but think that these two DLCs were most probably cut out of the main game just to be sold off as new content, leaving us with the near non-existent post-game in Sword and Shield. Which leads me to why I created this video. I wanted to share what I personally believe is the biggest problem with Sword and Shield. And don't worry, I'm not going to mention any trees or the Pokédex being cut. Instead, I'll be comparing it to its 12-year-old predecessor, and my personal favorite entry in the series, Pokemon Platinum, to see how that game did so much more right. So let's start with Sword and Shield first. In my opinion, what sets a good RPG from an amazing RPG are the optional features and its post-game content and incentives that keep the player's interest. Now, I just want to say, I did have fun finishing Pokemon Sword, but it wasn't because of anything specifically that this generation has done. I played through the story at a slow pace, tried filling out my Pokédex and leveling up, but other than that, the game doesn't really have anything original to offer. Except of course the wild area, Gigantamaxing and raids. But to be honest, the wild area is the only thing I want to see carried over into future entries. I'm just not a fan of Gigantamaxing and how raids were executed in the game. And on top of that, I've already shiny hunted for countless hours and had my fair share of IV breeding and EV training in past games. So for more traditional offline RPG players, Sword and Shield doesn't really have much left to offer. No hidden areas, dungeons, side quests, or challenges to keep you interested as you progress past the story, with the exception of the wild area and some rooms with special opponents to verse. Though it was a smart idea making the legendaries only catchable through the post-game story mission, although the rest of that mission was super bland. So in all honesty, even if the trees had ray tracing and were in 4K resolution, I still would have stopped playing after completing the Pokédex, because there's literally nothing left for me to do in the game. Alright, that's enough about Sword and Shield. You're probably asking, well, what does Platinum have to offer for optional and post-game content? Well, after finishing the main story, you can immediately access the Battle Frontier in the fight area. And that's right, not just the Battle Tower, but 4 other great game modes for you to challenge yourself in. But hey, if the Battle Frontier isn't your thing, like it wasn't for me for a long time, well, that's alright. There's a lot more options. The game heavily incentivizes players to complete the regional dex of 210 Pokemon. Doing this, the players get access to 4 main features. The first one being the Pokeradar, which is a device used for chaining specific wild Pokemon for increased IVs and shiny odds. The second feature is the National Pokedex. Once players upgrade to the National Pokedex from Professor Oak, more Pokemon previously unobtainable spawn around the region, giving incentive to revisit old areas and explore new ones. The third feature is Paul Park. It's an area that allows players to transfer Pokemon from previous games to Platinum.
This is where the fun begins.
For free. And finally, the players are allowed to proceed past the fight area, which means players can explore new areas, have rematches with important characters, experience a post-game story, and customize their villa right next to a pond that has a level 100 Magikarp. Not to mention some of the optional features and areas such as the Pokemon contests, the underground minigame, Turnback Cave, Fugo Ironworks, the Great Marsh, Iron Island, the Full Moon Island side quest, etc. And on top of that, there's a handful of legendaries you can catch, mystery gifts that add new areas in the map accompanied by a short story mission, this gen being the first to have Wi-Fi trades and battles, and finally the improvements to EVs and IVs and the split of physical and special moves, which laid the foundation to how regular or competitive battle strategies are played to this day. And nothing from these battle mechanics have been changed across the later generations other than its accessibility. And these optional features were tied together. For example, if you wanted to complete your National Pokédex, you'll have to go around the region again catching new Pokemon, transfer old ones through the free transfer system, dig for fossils and other evolutionary items, and finish side missions in optional areas for rare and legendary Pokemon. If you wanted 5 stars on your trainer card, you'll have to go deep into EV training and IV breeding just to have a good chance at winning 100 battles in the battle tower, as well as understanding how contest battles work and stealing 50 flags from other people's hidden bases. And yes, some of these features were introduced in games before Gen 4, but at least they tried to improve and add to them to make it feel different and new. And that's honestly the best part about Gen 4 and games like Platinum. There's something in it for every type of Pokemon player. For the amount of hours I played Platinum over the past 11 years, not a second of it was spent on the online features. Mainly because I never had the right internet type to connect to Nintendo Online before the servers got shut down. But Sword and Shield, I can play all aspects of the game and it still falls short to what was accomplished 12 years ago. I mean, what does Sword and Shield have to offer if you're not an online competitive battler or a shiny hunter? Not much, really. Okay, I did forget to mention that there is an underground digging system in Sword and Shield. But instead of going down underground and digging for these rare items yourself, like in Platinum, you just pay either of these guys a couple of W's, then the screen goes black, followed by a couple of... Then there you go. You got your rare items. Which leads me to the reason why I made this video in the first place. It's near certain that next year will be the time when Game Freak announces the Gen 4 remakes. And the last thing I want is having to pay for any of the post-game or optional content we got for free 12 years ago as post-launch DLC. With just a bit better textures. Or maybe not. And that's if they don't just leave it out entirely like they did for the Battlefront and the Gen 3 remakes. So what to do now, right? Well, Pokemon is in a similar position as Star Wars Battlefront 2 was after it launched with the loot box scandal. Except they didn't only receive criticism from fans, but the situation reached international walls. Now if you ask me, Pokemon hasn't quite reached that level just yet. But after last year's roller coaster of a release that was Sword and Shield, the fanbase was quite disjointed. Though what made Battlefront 2 become the amazing game that it is today were the fans who stayed with the game after all the hate and controversy, because they saw its potential. Many voiced what they wanted to see changed and introduced into the game, and slowly, after 2.5 years of live support, the game is near unrecognizable. So regardless if you like Sword and Shield or not, voice your opinion in a respectful way with what you want to see improved in the series. And maybe, just like Battlefront 2, the devs might listen. The earlier we start, even if it's a 1% better chance, it could make the games so much better than what we've been getting recently. So with each DLC drop, start the conversation about what you didn't like or liked about them, and what features you want to see most in future titles. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching my first video. Let me know how I did in the comments below. Was my introduction too long? Is my voice bland? Or was the video's content just overall boring? All feedback is appreciated. But until the next video, this has been the Hero of Sinnoh. Thanks for watching.
I am not your enemy.